guys, let's bring up the director of Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, Mark Molloy.
Hi, everyone.
So we were just talking outside, and tell us about the first time you watched the original Beverly Hills Cop and what that was like.
Okay, so if you can't tell, I'm Australian. So you probably won't understand a word I say. I don't think Eddie understood a word I said for the whole film, actually. It's probably why it's so good. Yeah, I grew up on a farm in rural Australia. We didn't even have a VHS player, but my uncle had a VHS player, and so I think every Saturday night we'd go around to his house and he'd hire a movie and we'd watch a movie. Anyway, I remember lying on the carpet at his house and we watched Beverly Hills Cop. And there's not many movies I remember really distinctly, but I really remember that moment of watching Beverly Hills Cop. I was lying there on the carpet and Axel Foley was the coolest dude I'd ever seen in my whole life. And that jacket and the sunglasses and Beverly Hills. I grew up on a farm in Australia. Beverly Hills was this exotic, mythical place. And it really struck a chord with me, yeah.
So this is your first film, and I think it'll be interesting for everyone to hear. What was the process like for you getting this?
I don't know. I can't believe I'm here, actually. So I come to directing I grew up on a farm. I didn't know I wanted to be a director. I didn't know what a director really was for a long time. Anyway, I became a director. I made a lot of TV commercials and music videos. Luckily, Jerry Bruckheimer saw the work that I'd made, and I was actually in Kiev. I was actually shooting another film that I never got to finish because of COVID. COVID shut down twice, but I was in Kiev on such a different film to this. It was like a really raw coming-of-age drama. And I was there, and my agent called me and he was like, Jerry Bruckheimer wants to get on the phone with you. And I was like, yeah, cool, okay, I'll get on the phone with Jerry Bruckheimer. And he just told me how much he loved my work, and he said, I want to make a movie together. And I was like, cool, Jerry. I'm in. That sounds great. And then he sent me a bunch of scripts, and I said no to all of them, actually. Just they didn't feel right. They just didn't feel like me, didn't feel right. And then he sent me Beverly Hills Cop, and I got in my inbox, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, what's this going to be? And I started reading it, and I was like 20 or 30 pages in, and I was like, oh man, I want to make this film. I really want to make this film. Yeah.
So when you went in, what was your pitch? I assume you had to pitch Jerry and the studio and Eddie. What was your pitch to them of why you were the right person to direct this?
Yeah, it wasn't so much why I was the right person. I think it was just about my vision for the story. I read the script, and what I loved about it was it was great. It was really well constructed, but it was really confident in being a Beverly Hills Cop film. I really instantly saw it in my head. And I hope you can tell me what's the film. I love Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. I'm sure you can feel that. I love those films. So my pitch to Jerry and to Eddie and Netflix and everyone I was like, cool. I think this script has a DNA of a Beverly Hills Cop film, but I want to go back to the well. I want to go back to Beverly Hills Cop 1, Beverly Hills Cop 2, and films from that era, 80s action comedies, and I want to make a film in that vein. I want to be inspired by those type of films. And what I love about those films is they were gritty films. Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 were gritty films, and they were grounded, and they were honest, and I wanted to do a film like that. I wanted to do big characters, build it around great big characters, do everything in camera, make mistakes. People don't make mistakes anymore. I wanted the spontaneity of those films in the 80s, and to make mistakes like those films did in the 80s, and just grounded, I think. Yeah. So that's my big thing. But the other big thing I will say that what I really loved about the story was that I love the father-daughter relationship. For me, I was like, why are we going to make Beverly Hills Cop 4? I never called it that, because it's not Beverly Hills Cop 4, it is, but it's called Axel F. But I was like, why are we making another Beverly Hills Cop film? And I saw something in the story, I saw this whole new side to Axel Foley that audiences have never seen before. You get to see, he's vulnerable here. We've never seen Axel vulnerable ever. And I thought the father-daughter story gave a whole new emotional layer to the film that hopefully I gave fans what they want from the Beverly Hills Cop, but also catch them by surprise and show them something new that they haven't seen before. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I was telling you outside, like I love the thing early on that Paul Reiser saying to him that like he can't retire because this is all he has. Like he is a cop and that's all he knows. And when you look back at the other films, like that very much is Axel. Like that's the only thing we ever really know about him. So it was so nice to have that kind of like extra sort of relationship and see him kind of vulnerable and see their dynamic. So yeah.
Yeah, I think too the other thing that I know, just speaking to Eddie too, is he's got skin in the game. Do you know what I mean? Like his daughter, and all the other films. I don't talk about Beverly Hills Cop 3 because I've never seen Beverly Hills Cop 3. Okay, Jerry didn't do it. Jerry hasn't seen it either. Sorry if there's any Beverly Hills Cop 3 fans here, but I've never seen it, so I can't say anything about Beverly Hills Cop 3. But in the first two films, Axel had skin in the game, and it was personal to him, and I think that's what the father-daughter really did too. We sort of start off, nothing's changed, but then we see that things have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I love the movie, that I love so much about him was getting to see this character that we love so much again. And like getting to see Eddie going back to that place, you know, because it has been a long time. What was it like, you know, as a fan being on set with him, you know, seeing him play Axel again and like getting him back to that place of like being this guy that, you know, it's been 30 years since you played him.
Yeah, it was fun. It was so fun. I remember like the first day we did like a camera test, and Eddie came in and he put the jacket on, put sunglasses, and he just turned away the camera, and he turned to the camera, and I was like, oh fuck, I got Axel Foley. I was like, you know, because the strength of this whole thing relies on Axel Foley showing up, you know, but when you got Eddie Murphy, and Eddie had such, for the very first time I met him, he had such a strong sense of not just Axel, but Axel after all these years too. In time, it's the most important character he's ever played, and it was amazing because it was really, he had such a really strong sense of how he saw the character and how the years have aged him, and not just being a 20, what was he, 21 or 23? I don't know. Like a really young, just, you know, like he wanted to feel those years, and so it was great. It was really, me and Eddie talked about it at the start, and I really talked to him a lot about the character, and then get Eddie Murphy, you know, like a big part of my job really was just to create a space on set for Eddie to do his magic, you know, like that's the thing, you know. I ain't going to go tell Eddie Murphy how to be funny. I can tell you right now, I am not equipped to tell Eddie Murphy how to be funny. I think Eddie Murphy's, in my eyes, the greatest comedian of all time, so I'm not there telling him how to be funny. I have ideas, but I was very, very, very subtly kind of like planned, but I just really tried to make sure I cast the right people across from him, created the right environment, had the writing in a place that gave him the freedom to do what he does.
In those scenes, like those, like I love the apartment scene when he first goes into Judge Reinhold's apartment, he starts immediately messing stuff up. Like that felt so Axel Foley. How much of it was on the page, and how much of it was like a little bit's there, but then Eddie loves to go beyond it and sort of play and improvise.
Yeah. Most of it's on the page. Most of it is on the page. Yeah, there's like Eddie loves to go in with a really good script. You know, it's not just like, I think the first film was just kind of like, let's just let Eddie go, you know, like it wasn't like that, you know, it's like he wants a really good scene on the page and then he has fun with it. You know, that's what it is. And a lot of those scenes like that, some of it's scripted, a lot's improvised, but there's improvisation in so much, but it's not clean slate improvisation. It's Eddie just being amazing and upping the game and all those things. Yeah.
I want to talk about music because it's something I was listening to J.J. Abrams' Force Awakens commentary a couple years ago, and he talked about that he felt like they were trying to, every frame of that movie and every choice they made wanted to remind you of Star Wars and why you love Star Wars. And so he's like subconsciously and consciously. And when this movie opens, you open with The Heat Is On, which is how the first movie opens. And what I love is that later in that sequence, you have Shakedown, which is how the second movie opens. And later on in the movie, you know, you use Neutron Dance. And there's just something about like those great songs that immediately bring you back to 1984 and 1987. Do you want to talk about that choice about like using that music as opposed to, you know, having new songs or?
Yeah, I think the really cool thing for me too was like having so much time has passed since the original. You know, like 40 years has passed since the original was out. So what I wanted to do too was, I'm a fan. Like, when Axel gets in that car at the start and the Heat Is On kicks in, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's right. I want to be in that car with Axel Foley right now, and I want to hear the Heat Is On. And so a big part of me is just being a fan and going like, that's where I want to be. But also too, we want to bring in a new audience too, you know. So what those songs do too, we tried some other songs in there, but what those songs do is they kind of, they give a feeling of what a Beverly Hills Cop film feels like. The other thing we used a lot of them at the start was, I really wanted Detroit and those opening scenes to really be Axel's world. And we're sort of in the past a little bit. And then when we get to LA, things change a little bit. So I put those needle drops, I think, work really well just for the scenes themselves, but I also love how it puts us in Axel's world, and then LA's like a whole new place again. Yeah. And they're great songs, you know?
It just, I mean, I love the 80s and stuff, and I love that the 80s still haven't gone away, and then like anytime you're in like a store or whatever, there's still 80s music blaring. And I do miss, like, you know, for those of us of that era, like, both of the soundtracks for the first two movies are fantastic. There's so many great songs, and that was such a thing that they don't really do anymore and stuff, and so, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, and it was interesting, really like the sound mix or whatever, and they sort of had mixed it with the music down, and like, I was like, I don't want to hear any sound effects. You know, like great 80s films, you know, they just weren't afraid to just like let the needle drop and just get everything else out the way, and let's just escapism, let's just enjoy being in this film right now, in this moment. There's still sound effects stuff, but I wanted the music to just like jump out a little bit like they used to do in the 80s. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about one of the other things I love is I love you actually shot it in LA. Because like growing up, like every movie was shot in LA, but like I'm from Massachusetts, and watching Beverly Hills Cop and Pretty Woman and Die Hard made me want to come to Los Angeles. And nowadays, like nothing shoots here, and so they always fake it. And it's like it was nice like watching this and seeing like, okay, you are Beverly Hills and you're downtown, and you have that chase through those streets. What was it like to actually shoot a movie here and like to be like in these environments instead of being in Toronto and faking it?
Yeah, that was awesome because like I grew up, you know, like all those films that you mentioned, like all those films from the 80s, they were just like all in LA. It was like that harsh light, very different light, and a lot more smog back then. I was kind of wishing for smog on this because, you know, just to get that nice filtered light, you know, like Tony Scott, like full Tony Scott. I was like, oh, I wish it was smoggier. I even tried to put some smog in one day, it didn't work. But I wanted, in terms of nostalgia, I think there's a really nostalgic quality to those films from the 80s like that. So I was hell bent on like getting that side of LA, and I think Tony captured it amazingly in Beverly Hills Cop too. And so I really wanted that to be a big part. And then shooting all those scenes, like, you know, there's the big shootout on Wilshire that we just locked Wilshire down for like the whole weekend and shot that. On Lock Rodeo Drive down for like 6 days, and the helicopter sequence that was in downtown, but like full lockdown. But I guess that goes back to my approach for all the action in camera on location. That was like, I was like hell bent. Everyone tried to pull green screens out. I was like, when I pull green screens out, even all the driving stuff you see is all, none of it's done in green screen. It would have been much easier, but I don't know, it just feels like it grounds it. That first thing I talked about, grounding the film, you know, I just wanted to ground it. And to be able to shoot in LA is just a dream come true, especially as a fan of that era of films.
Yeah, let's talk about the helicopter sequence, because watching it again on the big screen tonight, I was like, I don't know how people didn't die while you were shooting this. You said you shot most of it in downtown LA?
Yeah, it's all down on Hope Street, downtown LA. It was a fucking nightmare,
YMCA.
because
Bunker Hill.
it was an absolute nightmare, because there was a helicopter flying down the street with sparks coming off its skids as it was flying down the street. And there's a bunch of other cars around, and there's a tour bus, and there's people everywhere. And so, because of safety, every person you see is a stunt person, and all cameras had to be remote too. I think we were rolling 8, 9 cameras, all remotely. So it was huge. I remember looking over once, and there's like a group of like 80 people, so there it's like, oh, is that all the extras? They're like, no, they're just PAs. We were like trying to like shut everything down because we had such a big footprint. Gunfire. Yeah, it's all on camera. Even all the stuff where Axel and Eddie and Joe are in a helicopter. I built a helicopter on hydraulics and everything like that, and we towed it through the location. So it's all done. That whole sequence on the ground there is all done on camera. And what I love about that is we make mistakes. We made mistakes and we fucked up little bits, and the camera was off, and we're trying to catch up. And like if you're on a volume or a green screen or whatever like that, you're not making those mistakes, or you don't feel that. What I love about those films from the 80s is like, you can feel there's like some dude hanging out with the camera on the side of a, like, oh my God, I'm gonna drop this camera, and like something's coming at me, There's heaps of things that happen when you do it like that just force you into making certain decisions, and I really love that. Yeah.
No, you're so right, because like nowadays, like you can fix everything CG or do it with CG, but there's something about watching those movies, you're like, oh wow, someone really did this.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't have the option to sort of do that, but it just makes it feel more real. And so it was refreshing. Like I was saying, I love the meter maid chase, and I was telling you that when I watched it at home, the thing that I laughed the hardest at, and I think got the biggest laugh tonight, was the meter maid hanging on the side. Like that shot when you see her hanging on the side, like got such a huge laugh.
Oh good. I've been in a few audiences before. That's definitely one of the biggest laughs of the film. I love it.
And it's such a great use of location, because if you know Beverly Hills, like that, that little walkway or whatever that weird thing is, like out in Rodeo, like that's a perfect place for the chase. Do you want to talk about that sequence? And
yeah. So I love that sequence. I love how I just love with all the action sequences. Just not so much about that, but with all of them, the other thing I thought was really important was, I think too often action sequences are more about the spectacle than the character. And why I love the helicopter sequence is I love what's happening inside the helicopter more than I love what's happening outside the helicopter. And the meter maid chase too, I love how it leads to the ending and stuff like that. They're all character moments rather than just look what we can do, but that sequence, I would just like walk around Beverly Hills, like early on a Sunday morning, I'd be like, oh, what am I going to do here? This is kind of a fun playground here. Well, what if it starts here and goes up there? And then I was also like scouting for when he arrives in LA, all the weird people that he sees and stuff. So they were like little scouting trips. But yeah, I was like, I don't think they probably had those stairs there, actually. And so yeah, I just made it up in my head as we went, and then we shot it all. But that was bonkers because, like on Rodeo Drive, there's all those tour buses with all like the tourists and everything like that. It's busy. We shot one of those scenes on a Sunday, so like Rodeo was mobbed with all these tourists. You bring Eddie Murphy out onto Rodeo Drive on a busy Sunday with tour buses everywhere. It was chaos. There was like 1,000 people, like just everyone. Like, how do I shoot anywhere? There's just people everywhere. But yeah, we did it. It got it worked.
Well, I think that's what makes it feel so authentic too. The difference between shooting here as opposed to shooting someplace else is like you can tell you're walking around and finding those moments. And like when I was really excited for this movie, and I was very nervous for this movie. And when I saw that first trailer where you see the woman feeding sushi to the dog, I was like, okay, great. Like, I'm in. And little side note, and so Dan Petrie, who wrote the original, is a friend of mine, and he was telling me that when he was working on the original, it was sort of his parents were filmmakers, and they had they had an office on Little Santa Monica, like overlooking Rodeo Drive. And he would sit there and try to figure out, like, okay, well, I gotta figure out this movie when we're doing it. And he's like looking out the window, all those little beats you saw in the beginning of Beverly Hills Cop, he saw on Rodeo Drive. So he saw the people in the, like Michael Jackson outfits and different things. And he's like, oh yeah, that's this movie and stuff. And that's when I saw your trailer. I was like, oh, I love that you're finding those for today.
Yeah.
And in 2024, these are the funny little bits of the kid with, taking the pictures in the selfie. It was like, okay, that feels like Beverly Hills. And that's the authenticity you only get really from, I think, being able to do it here as opposed to elsewhere.
Yeah, and just studying, I just spent so much time just driving around Beverly Hills, just like hanging with my phone like out the window, like trying to find weird things. But that sequence was so cool to do because that's what I love, like being able to draw on the nostalgia. We know we've seen that in the previous films before, but I got to do my version of that sequence in modern day. And I put a lot of care into that. There's a lot of thought and care that went into that. There's a lot more that didn't make it. Yeah.
Do you have did you cut a lot of scenes? Like, do you have any fun deleted scenes that didn't happen in the movie?
There's quite a few. No really big scenes, big traditional photography, and we sort of reshot a few things, especially we reshot a lot of the ending. But there wasn't any really big scenes that we cut.
Let's talk the cast, and you and I were talking. I mean, part of the fun of this, and you're talking about nostalgia, was seeing these three guys back together, and also Serge. And like John Ashton, I love John Ashton. I'm a huge Midnight Run fan. I haven't seen him in a while, and he was so fantastic in this. Talk about working with him and getting to get the band back together.
Yeah, I love John Ashton so much. He's just so cool. He's just like, he'd rock up with a big cigar. Like at 6 a.m. in the morning, call time, have a big cigar like this. I'll be like, no smoking on set. I'll be like, whatever. It's like, Mark, where am I going to put my cigar? I was just like, just put it down here, John. He's like, okay, let's do a take. But he's just like, it's been years. Like we haven't seen John for a while either. He's been in a few things, been seen for a while, but just like so tuned into character. It was really important for me about getting all that original cast back, and not just because they're such a part of the franchise, but I think seeing, after all these years, seeing the dynamic of their relationships together is what makes Beverly Hills Cop special. I think seeing and that scene at the end of the three of them in the police car, that wasn't in the original script, and I was just like, I need to see those three characters in the car. I was like, when I think back to that young kid watching Beverly Hills Cop, the image I have in my head is the three of them in that police car. And I was like, we need to make a scene where we put the three of them in a police car together because I'm a fan. I want to see that. So that's great. And it's so great. What I did really early on, one of the first things I did when I was signed on to the movie, I was like, I want to have a meeting with all the original cast. And I come into my office and I was just like, just sort of told them how much of a fan I was and talked to the approach that I just explained earlier on, and just really got them excited and on board with how I wanted to treat the films, that I'm not trying to reinvent anything. We do not need to reinvent Beverly Hills Cop. It's great. We just need to bring it into a modern world. Yeah.
And I want to open up to questions, but the last thing I want to talk about is the tone of it. Because I think action comedy is so tricky, and I feel like nowadays they mostly skew more comedic than the action. But what was so great about Beverly Hills Cop and your film is that you really found a balance in between them. It's like, the original movie, is very funny, but it opens with, his best friend getting killed and stuff. And it's like, and you set the danger of it. I think you did such a nice job of that. Do you want to talk about maintaining that balance and the tone? And you said too, what you feel, like it feels gritty. Because a lot of times sequels get sillier and kind of more comedic. And I feel like you kind of brought it back and kind of grounded it right from the start.
Yeah, thanks. Probably one of the things I'm most proud about, actually, of the film is when I set out to make it, I really wanted to get the tone of the film right. And it's actually really, I think it's actually a really hard thing to do, to get the tone of the film right, because, luckily there was a blueprint for me in other films to look at, but it's not as easy as that, because you watch Beverly Hills Cop one, you can't make a film like that these days because audiences will just turn off. It's too slow, and you know, I don't want to say that. I'm not saying that, but it's a different. You got to make a different film for the modern world. But what I think was really important about those films is the stakes are real. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of comedies now, the stakes don't feel real. And Jerry was really, like, to learn from Jerry Bruckheimer is a very good thing, I can tell you. But the stakes have to feel real. That is room for comedy. The stakes have to feel real, and the characters have to feel real, and you have to believe and invest in the characters. So there's time for comedy, and there's time for drama. And I really tried to make sure the drama felt legitimate, and that's why I really wanted to cast Taylour Paige from the very start for Axel's daughter, because I saw like a strength in her that she's not trying to be funny, she's not trying to do a thing, this is real for her, this is her heart's on the line and stuff like that. So I really wanted to ground all those relationships really from the start, and I think that's why the other two films really work for me too. And I think these days comedies can just turn into comedies rather than rather than having real stakes.
Let's open up to questions. I think there's some microphones coming around too. You in the back. Yeah, to the microphones right behind us.
All right. First of all, I want to say that I saw the movie in the theater with my father 40 years ago, and I got my son here today, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway,
I love that.
Yeah. So you didn't call it Beverly Hills Cop 4, why? Because you didn't like 3, or you didn't see it?
I never said I didn't like 3. I said I didn't watch it. Although, did you see the little dig I had at 3?
By the way, that kind of huge laugh.
Did it? Yeah. That was me. I just felt after such a long time, it just didn't feel like an add-on to me. I wanted to kind of be a bit more fresh slate, a bit more. I wanted to be a bit more like, no, cool, it's been 30 years. I'm going to make my movie. I'm going to make a version of Beverly Hills Cop, but I think I want it to stand on its own 2 feet a little bit, and I just didn't want it just to be like, oh, Beverly Hills Cop 4. You know, I wanted it to be a bit more like, no, this is not a standalone story, but it feels a bit more unique rather than just being another number.
Well, I think it's also what you were talking about the character, because this is the most we get to know Axel, like as a person and stuff. It felt right that like his name's in the title to me.
Yeah, definitely.
You're very excited.
Okay, I'm from AOAPC, Los Angeles Appraisal Club. I am the founder of the Beverly News. So I want to ask you, Christine, Mr. Molly, it's a really good movie. I've never seen any before, number 1, number 2, number 3. It's the first time, so Beverly Hills Cop, to me, just number 1. Okay.
I love that.
Good movie, good screenplay, and good reason, good music, also good action. But I want to ask you, Christian, as a film director, easy for you choose, if you good budget, easy for you choose a good actor and good actress. But the Beverly Hills Cop gave me all actor act very real. I like the ending. The ending that really moved me. I cried. I moved to the tears with that ending. Father kills the people, the father and daughter's relationship. I think this looks like an action movie, but the kids can't watch it. Okay, I want to ask you how you make your team. I know Eddie Murphy is the leading actor. How you make your team, all actor have chemistry between each other?
Okay, that's a good question. I think like I spoke about Taylour before, where I thought it was really important to cast her and have a more dramatic actress as Axel's daughter. Obviously, there's the original cast, so they're all coming. But I guess there's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's kind of like there's that buddy cop thing going on between the two of them, but why I love Joe and why I thought Joe was a really great fit for this film was Joe's really funny, but he's in a very different way to Eddie. He plays it straight. Joe plays it straight, but he's really funny when he does, and I love that there was this kind of like a really different comedic counterpoint for the two of them to play off each other. I don't think putting two Eddie Murphys together is the way to go about it. I think, you know, having someone who plays the comedy very differently to Eddie, I love the scenes where they're together.
Where did I was going to ask you about that. Where did that idea come from? Is it? I mean, he's such a great actor, but like I wouldn't have necessarily thought of him for this. Is it something like his reps read the script, or like did you guys have a list of guys? Like what was the process for?
Yeah, no, it's just with the casting director, we talked about some names, and then we talked about Joe. I was like, oh yes, Joe. I'm like, I want to get Joe. Yeah, and luckily we did. And then Kevin Bacon. Who doesn't want to have Kevin Bacon in the movie? you know, like I was just like, I had this kind of really strong idea about who Grant was, and spoke to Kevin, and he just elevates it so much. Like I had a really good idea of like what Grant his character was, but then you bring Kevin Bacon on, and he just like explodes it off the page. You know, he's just got great ideas.
You know,
just a great actor.
I was thinking about it too. It's so interesting because they don't seem like they're the same age, but and I don't know if they are, but I think Footloose came out the same year, right? Didn't it?
Yeah,
Beverly Hills Cop?
yeah. They are. I think they're very similar age, and I really like that. This idea of like these two cops at kind of the same age and using a little bit of heat, you know, like using the parallels between them to create a really good, you know, ending to the King, I think too. Yeah.
Someone, yeah, there we go.
Hi.
Hi.
First I wanted to say thank you for making the movie without all the green screen and shooting on location. Things like I really miss movies like that. Because all the CGI and everything is just like, you're out of it. Like, I'm in the movie theater, I'm not enjoying myself. But with this, I was like, oh, I know what that is. You know?
Mhm.
So thank you for it.
Pleasure. Thanks for recognising it.
Yeah, and I wish that there'd been more movies like that.
Well, hopefully they'll let me make some more. I'll do it again.
Yeah, right over there.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you were just saying that. Sorry.
anyway, so my question is like, why did you choose not to give any more information about the mom?
We kind of talked about it for a while, like we talked about it, and then it was like, oh, you know, and then in the end, there was quite a lot going on with the father-daughter, with their relationship. We did talk about it a lot, but we didn't want to go too deep into it because I wanted to concentrate on their relationship a little bit, and I didn't want to have to sort of the viewer to be sort of like trying to add things up. Well, I don't know where we were, but yeah, we talked about it, but it was just a decision that let's just focus on them. Yeah.
I think you got to turn it on.
Hello?
Yeah.
Great. My name is Spain. I'm a film director. I'm also doing my master's here at USC. Thank you. Such a beautiful film. I'm also a fan of all your Hallmark films. The question I wanted to ask was, you know, when you're going to a long franchise like this, and you did say that there's really nothing to change about it because, you know, it's familiar, but you did also say that you wanted to make it your own. What are the elements going into such a franchise as a director that you know that, oh, these are the parts I can control, and how do you put your own spin to the film?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that well, I look at it. It's quite hard because I think a lot of the choices that I made make it mine. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the things I've spoken about, like my approach to how I wanted to go about it, and it's kind of the different choices that a lot of directors make these days. You know, and I look back at those choices of trying to ground it, trying to do it. But every story I get, I try and ground for some reason. I'm always like, I need to ground this story. I need to make it more. I need to make it about the characters. That's what I need to do. That's like, and I think that's what I did. I don't know whether that's says it's me or not, but that's how I approach work. And so I look at this, and I think there's really different versions of this film that could be made, and I tried to make the one that's as honest and grounded as possible. And that's my work. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear.
Thank you. Hey Mark, this is
Hey.
Edward.
We'll do it after.
I wanted to say to you that being on set with you was like total magic because everything that happened was so organic. And like you were saying, it's a relief to actually see everything that's happening being exactly how it is and capturing all that on camera as opposed to using a green screen in some of the movies nowadays. Thank you for that as well. Now I noticed that there were a lot of scenes that we were shooting in Wilshire that were a little bit longer. Are you going to release those at all through Netflix or maybe on DVD? I would love to see the extended edition of Eddie Murphy coming out of the car, or when he's being chased when he's coming down the stairs. They were amazing. It was so funny. And that was my question to you. If you're going to release those extended parts that we
I have
did.
no
Director's
idea. I
cut.
love that you want it. I have no idea. It's my first film. I don't even know what to do with it. You know what I mean? I'm like, hopefully people like it. If they ask me to do it, I'll be like, oh, of course I'll do whatever you want. You know, like, yeah.
What did you, you said you tested it a couple times. What did you learn from the test screenings?
From the test screenings, I learned that I got the tone right. So that was a positive. I learned that I got the tone right. And I think like what I learned as a filmmaker was amazing because it's my first time I've done this, but like sitting in a cinema with an audience is like the most perfect roadmap to a film. I was like, it's not funny enough here. It needs more emotion here. Then I could just like, I had my pen. I was like, right, this is like a cheat sheet for the film. So I really learned that, but also we did quite a bit of work afterwards on the ending and their relationship. And there were things that I was feeling as we were shooting it that become really apparent when we're there. And audiences had this, I had some problems with the film, and audiences had the same problem. So that's great.
Well, it's always good when they validate your problems.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, you had so much fun.
Hey,
While watching the film, I was blown away by the sound design. That might be thanks to the amazing audio in here, but I really felt the impact of every sort of sound and every truck hitting the car. I really felt that. So I kind of want to ask, what did it feel like as far as your interaction with the post-production process? Were you sort of involved, or like what was it like day to day?
yeah. I was heavily involved, and we had an amazing post, and we had a sound editor in from the very first day we started editing. And so we had a sound editor in, and he was working the whole time, and he did a brilliant job. And then when we come to mixing it on stage, yeah, I was again very involved too. I just wanted to, I think the sound is amazing. I think the way we shot it also helps the sound too, because the camera's like right there and getting hit and doing all that sort of stuff too. But I was just like, I just wanted everything to be like really present and stuff too, you know. So we worked. I'm not going to take all the credit for that. I worked lucky enough to work with amazing people. Yeah.
Let's see, we're getting up here from the front. Who's got a good question back there? Oh, someone went away. No, sorry. Yeah, you straight back. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Sorry.
we can do all of yours in there. So.
I love the film. There's so many great throwbacks for fans of the film. I was just wondering if there's anything you wanted to add or you had to cut out, like put on in the tailpipe or something.
Yeah, I talked to Eddie. You know, we talked a lot about banana in the tailpipe actually, and I was obviously every fan you talk to is like banana in the tailpipe. You know, I was like, all right, Eddie, I'm gonna ask you again. But there was a few things, and Eddie was right too. It's like he just didn't want to go back to just like gags for gags reasons. Do you know what I mean? It's like some 15-year-old kid's not going to know nothing about a banana and tailpipe. You know, like I know the fans want it, but we've also got to do that. And I think there's enough callbacks in here as there is, but there was nothing. I was very vocal. I was like, I did all the shit I wanted to do basically by the end of it. Yeah, And all that stuff, like the police pile up and stuff like that. That was all me. I was like, we are definitely having a police car pile up in this film. There has to be a police car pile up in this film. Yeah.
Sure. The guy behind you had a question. If you, sorry, I didn't know the mic forgot to pass you. We'll do it after. Sorry.
I have a technical question from, so I don't know your full history, but you said you did a lot of music videos and commercials, so you shot on film, I assume, at some point?
I have. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint and making this movie and having everything be practical, especially the helicopter scene, which I thought, oh yeah, it's definitely real. Can you talk about the process, why it's easier to do everything in camera with, say, 9 cameras, digital cameras as opposed to 9 film cameras, and why that's easier, we'll say?
Yeah. Look, we tested film. We tested film at the very start. We looked at shooting film, and then we did a lot of comparison tests and everything like that. Like as a film, I would have loved, like the filmmaker in me, and I've shot film a lot, would have loved to shot film, but it was going to affect my approach to the film, rolling 9 cameras, shooting film. We never really rolled less than 3 cameras for the whole shoot. And so I had to sort of make decisions weighing up the practicalities of shooting film, all the Detroit stuff, multi-cameras. I sort of made a decision based on the overall outcome I wanted to get. And honestly, I'm a film lover, so I don't want to say this, but we looked at the two, and I worked with Tom Poole, my colorist. We really looked at the comparison between the two. We did a lot of testing, and I couldn't make that decision to shoot on film with all my heart as being the best thing for the film. Yeah.
What kind of direction did you give the music directors? Like I know you worked with Warren Balfe and the guy whose name escapes me, I just know him as Sunglasses Kid on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's 80s music.
Yeah.
There, check it out. I don't get paid to say that. What kind of direction did you make? Because as far as I noticed, you didn't use the Harold Faltermeyer original version until Billy gets rescued.
So
were you holding that into that particular, like, was there to be the right part?
definitely. And like Jerry Bruckheimer is so good at music. He just like sits there the whole, he's so involved too in the edit suite all the time, just chatting and everything like that. And Jerry's got some good, like, really definite opinions on music and great ideas on music. I come into the thing in terms of the score. I just came in, I was like, I love the score. I love the score of Beverly Hills Cop. And I hope you can feel that. Like, I love the score of Beverly Hills Cop. And on set, I had like Beverly Hills Cop playing all the time. Like, I was just like, doing a pan or whatever. I was like, just wait, play the music. I need to pan a little bit slower. But also, and the other thing is too, like, you get to make a film and then someone like goes, and here's Axel F, you can put that in your film. And I'm like, oh my God, really? I can use that in my film, like such a cool thing for someone to give you to be able to use in your film, especially like the connotations and the nostalgia that brings. So I was thinking that I spoke to Lorne really early on, and I was like, Lorne, we need to modernize this, but as we modernize it, I want audiences to be like, they love the original soundtrack. They love the original soundtrack, but this is their version of it. Like, we heard a couple of things, I was like, just wait, this sounds like we're trying to reinvent the original soundtrack. We shouldn't be doing that. This is a love letter to the original soundtrack. That's what it should be. It's like, we love that, we love the original, this is our version of it. This is our evolution of it. But it's so cool to be able to walk into a project and be given like that. It's actually really hard. I was like, that's gonna be easy. I'm just gonna put like something like the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack on there. But when push come to shove, it actually took a lot of time and a lot of work to get that soundtrack to really fit. And Lorne did a brilliant job. And Sunglasses Kid did a great job. And check him out on Instagram. Anyone doesn't know who the Sunglasses Kid is? If you like 80s movies, you'll love Sunglasses Kid.
Is that where you found him on Instagram?
Lorne had a relationship with him. Yeah.
I love the, and I don't know, because it felt like it was like sampling an 80s song, but I love the song when he first comes to Beverly Hills. What song's that?
That's it's a Coy Leroy song and Billy Idol song that Stuart Price, a producer that we work with, he moves the two of the songs. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for a couple more. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, sorry, go for it.
That's great, really quick, congratulations, it was really great to bring us all back to that time period, but, I saw that Jane was wearing an M necklace.
Yes.
Is that for Murphy or for Molloy?
Neither. I don't know because Taylour picked it and I never got to ask her. Like she's just like she was like this. I think it was something to do with the grandmother actually. So it had no.
It's funny, I was wondering that too when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll say Molloy. I like that.
I saw at the very end of the credits there was a Panavision logo. What kind of lenses were you working with?
We used some C-series lenses, but mostly these old massive zooms. I don't know what exactly which ones they were. I was like, let's just test all the older zooms that Panavision have. They were like 45 to like 435s or something. They were huge, massive. They're like massive zooms. Yeah. Just get them on the hold on.
I think I have the mic.
Okay.
Great film, really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm curious, two things. One, why did you choose to title it this way? Axel F, is there something?
I think you answered that already.
I kind of answered that already, but why called Axel F?
I know you didn't want to call it.
Yeah.
Is there something else?
I just.
More personal that made it.
Can you tell how much I love the soundtrack? No, but that's like. There was talk about calling it Axel Foley and stuff like I had Axel F in my head from the start, and I just love that it's Axel, but it's kind of Axel F, yeah.
Cool. And then, do you know if there'll be another one?
I don't know for sure. And I think like the biggest thing is I think if people watch this, and people like it, then I think so. But I think. There's murmurings of fun.
By the way, Nathan can answer this because you don't want people to tweet about it now, right? Okay, so if you guys like the movie, it's like tweet about it, run on Facebook, tell your friends. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, don't write anything. Just write really nice shit about it, can you?
We have time for I think 2 more questions. So who has a really good question? You've been waiting for a long time. So.
This was fantastic, and what was dope is like I watched the original one when I was like 4 with my dad on VHS back in like '94, which I don't know why he was watching it with a 4-year-old, but so this was fantastic to see like a modern take on a very classic like 80s high concept action comedies were like a very unique and special thing in film, and I think you did a fantastic job in breathing a new life into that. I think my question really deals with nostalgia in film is something we've seen a lot lately, especially in the last 15 years, remaking and legacy sequels. How did you steer away from a lot of the tropes and a lot of the shortcomings that a lot of these new retaking of classics do, especially when you bring on new cast and you're trying to expand the lore? How do you not make it feel trite? And another one of these.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying I did do that. So that's good. I don't know. I just, I think the big thing for me was like, I'm not reinventing this. This is not reinventing. This is a homage, or like I said before, like my love letter to these films. Do you know what I mean? Like I wanted to take the essence of the films and pull it into now. I don't know how I did that. I don't know, like, I wasn't like going like, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that and I don't want to do that. I just had a really clear vision of it from the very start of like how I think I should bring it to life. And I think I just tried to stay true to what had worked in the past and evolve it in the right way without trying to break it, and I wish I could give you smart enough to say I did it because of this, but I just trusted in the vision I had for the film from the start. Yeah.
Cool. And then someone said they had the mic back there. Yeah. All right, we'll do these 2 and then we'll be done. We gotta get out of here.
Mark. My name is Mike Silva. Great job.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
I think you hit every note. I love the originals. I was actually an extra. I was a detective in the bullpen.
Oh, nice, nice. It's a good set.
It's cool because I watched them like reruns when I was a kid, and now I'm in the universe, kind of, you know. But my question is, I know you're a big '80s, '90s action fan. I saw the Stallone First Blood and all that. Did you have something to do with that? Or?
Yeah, well, that's Rosewood's.
That's his favorite, that's right.
That's
In the
Rose.
second one, he's got the poster up.
He's got
It's
the
been a while,
poster
but I
up.
love the movies, and you did great. And then you gonna do more of these '80s, '90s action movies? Or?
I don't know. Maybe someone sends me a script. I'm up for it.
Hope you do.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, last question.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm a film student at Cal State Fullerton. I'm a big fan of Beverly Hills Cop movies. I grew up watching those. I heard both of you guys mention Tony Scott's name, and I'm a huge fan of his as well. It seemed like throughout the film, we had all these great callbacks in the narrative, but also stylistically, there were a lot of great callbacks. It felt like, especially to Beverly Hills Cop 2. Can you go into depth and talk just a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Because I really loved what Marty did in the first film. I thought just like all the characters and the casting and the humor, like the way he handled, and he really set the template for action comedy. I think like really did that. But I loved when Tony came in. He definitely heightened the look at things. You know, he heightened the look at things, and he captured it in a way that just had a bit more probably of me. So yeah. Luckily, I got to sort of talk to Jerry. I was like, "Hey, Jerry, let's talk about, take me back to Tony Scott." He's like, just have like a bunch of massive lenses, just like shooting at them from there. I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to get a bunch of massive lenses." But no, and Eddie Grau, the cinematographer, we really looked a lot at Beverly Hills Cop 2 as a bit more of not like I think just more of the inspiration for the type of look that we wanted to do. Like, not so much all over, like, not so much just like the drama, but like a lot of the action and like the lensing, the long lenses and the establishing shots and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I love what Tony did. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming. Let's have a big round of applause.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much.
It's really nice.
I know.